Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. We found Grace, your Frenchman who somehow found love here in the beautiful Philippines. And this is my beautiful partner,
I'm
Grace.
Grace. So, guys, we are super excited for today's topic because it's something a lot of people curious about, especially when it comes to dating in the Philippines.
And that's right, Grace. Today we are diving in the big questions. Does age gap really matter in relationship here in the Philippines?
Oh, this is going to be an interesting one.
I love it.
Age gap relationships are pretty common here, but there's so much to it. So, sit back, relax, and join us this journey, guys.
All right, Grace. So let's kick this off. Let's first talk about why people think age gap relationships are so common. So here in the Philippines, I know as a foreigner, it's one of the first thing I noticed.
Yes, it's definitely something people notice right away. Age gap relationships are really a part of the culture. I think traditionally Filipinos have been more open to relationships with older partners because there's a lot of respect for maturity. Here, it's almost seen security.
Yeah, and as a foreigner, I was surprised actually by how open and tolerant Filipinos are about it. I think in France, you rarely see a big difference age gap couple, but here it's not so unusual. What would say? I mean, what is the normal age gap here in the Philippines?
For most Filipinos, I'd say an age gap, maybe 5 to 10 years, is pretty common. But even beyond that, it can still be okay.
Yeah.
It really depends on the people involved.
So age gap relationships are often more accepted here because they fit into a larger family and cultural dynamics. There is a deep rooted value placed on family stability, respect, and tradition. So why don't we share a little bit about ourselves? As we know, guys, we have age gap ourselves.
Yes, we do. Loic and I have an age difference. And I think this is something that has actually strengthened our relationships. I feel like I've learned a lot from his experiences.
And you also brought much energy and freshness into my life, and which I love. I think when there is trust and understanding, it's just become a number.
Yes, you're right.
So that's not always the case with everyone, right?
Yes, exactly. A lot of it depends on what each person is looking for in a relationship. In the Philippines, younger Filipina often looking for stability, and that can sometimes lead to relationship with older partners, especially if that partner is responsible and respectful. So, let's talk about family dynamics and how they play into age gap relationship here in the Philippines.
So this is really interesting. And it's something I had to learn about when I moved here in the Philippines. Family is everything.
Yes. You're really right. In Filipino culture, family decisions often influence who you end up dating. A relationship here is not just between two people, but between two families. So if an older man, especially a foreigner, approaches the family with good intention, it's often seen as positive thing.
Absolutely. I feel like dating you, Grace, actually also mean getting to know your family,
Yes.
understanding how important that support is. It's very different from what I was used to actually in France, where relationships tend to be more independent.
And even though it sounds different, it's really strengthens the relationship because the family's blessing and acceptance play a huge role when they're on board. It's much easier to grow as a couple, especially if there's an age gap.
Now let's talk about some of the myths and the stereotype about age gap relationships, especially with foreigner dating Filipinos. So I will ask you something, okay, Grace? So
Yes.
what's one of the biggest stereotypes you've noticed in the Philippines?
Definitely the one where people assume that if a younger Filipina is dating an older foreigner, it's only for financial stability.
Yes.
A lot of people don't realize that relationships are rarely that simple, you know?
Yes, and as a foreigner, I've noticed this too.
Yes.
It's easy for outsider to think that age gap relationships are transactional,
Yes.
but that's not fair.
Yes.
To all the real couple out there.
Exactly. A lot of Filipinas are genuinely looking for a connection with someone who respects them, listens to them, and values their culture. Sure, stability matters, but that's not the whole
Yeah,
story.
And speaking of respect, I think that's a big part of why age doesn't feel like a barrier for us. Grace and I respect each other,
Yes, 100%.
differences, and learn from each other every day. All right, so let's be honest here. Age gap relationship do come with challenges, especially when people around you have their own opinions.
Yes, like sometimes there can be family concerns. Not every family will be fully open to an age gap relationship at first, especially if it's with a foreigner.
That's true, guys. In my case, I think Grace's family needed some time to understand that my intentions were actually genuine.
And once they saw that Loic truly cared, they welcome him. It's really about showing that you're committed to understand each other cultures, values, and expectations.
Yeah, and then for anyone in an age gap relationship, here our advice: be patient with each other's families, and don't be afraid to take things slowly if it means gaining their trust. It really goes a long way.
And another thing, be open to feedback from family members. Sometimes they notice things you don't, and
As well.
their concern can actually help strengthen the relationship.
So we wanted to share some tips on making age gap relationships work. Okay, so hopefully this helps some of you out there who might be in similar relationship
Mhm.
or who are considering dating in the Philippines.
Okay, so tip number 1, communication. This is so important.
Important.
Sometimes there's a difference in experiences or expectations, but if you keep an open line of communication, a lot of misunderstanding can be avoided. Yeah,
You said it
100%.
all. And tips number 2, embrace each other's culture.
Yes.
I think that helped us connect deeply, and Grace taught me so much about Philippines custom, especially how family orientated everything is here. That was
Yes.
totally new for me.
Yeah, and you taught me so much about your French culture. Loic understanding each other's backgrounds really makes the relationship more meaningful.
That's true. So tips number 3, I would say spend time together with
Yes,
each other's
100%.
family. Here is the Philippines. Family means a lot.
Yes.
And once the family accepts you, it's a whole new level of communication, connection.
Yeah, so guys, now let's proceed to our Q&E. You're ready?
Okay, let's go.
First question. How do you deal with people who judge or criticize your relationship because of your age gap?
So, okay, so that's a really common question. Okay, so to be honest, we do get stares sometimes and even comments online, but over time, we've learned to focus on our relationship rather than on other people's opinion.
Yeah, exactly. In the beginning, it can feel a bit uncomfortable, but if you and your partner trust each other, you develop a kind of confidence that makes it easier to ignore outside judgment. It's about creating a bubble of trust where only you two matter.
So yes, and remember, people might judge out of understanding.
Yeah.
So once they see that you're genuine, happy, and supportive of each other, opinion usually shift. It's all about patience and consistency in this age gap relationship.
Okay, so here's another good one. What's the best way to approach the family of a younger partner when there's an age gap, especially if you are a foreigner?
Oh, that's a really okay. So really important one. Meeting the family is huge, especially here. So for me, I had to learn to be very respectful and take things slow, very
Yeah,
slowly.
yeah. Yes, and Loic really made an effort to get the know my family. He didn't try to rush things or force anything for Filipinos, showing respect to the family and taking time to understand them really helps a lot. It's about being patient and showing that you're serious.
Exactly. I even learned a few basic Filipino phrases just to actually break the ice, guys. Little things like to make a difference, and Grace family appreciate it a lot. Actually. So another thing we wanted to talk about is how age gap relationship can bring cultural differences, especially for foreigners dating in the Philippines.
Yes, like for example, how sometimes older foreigners might expect certain things based on their own culture. But in the Philippines, relationships are often very family centered. Sometimes that can surprise people.
Definitely. I think one of the biggest things I had to adjust actually was the closeness of Filipino families.
Mhm.
In France, people are often like more independent, so understanding how closely Grace was connected to her family was new for me.
Yes, and sometimes foreigners don't realize that it's normal here for the family to be so involved. So, embracing that family connection is really important for a successful relationship in the
And on the
Philippines.
flip side, I think it's also good to have open conversation,
Uh-huh.
like with each other about
Yes,
your
yes.
expectation.
Mhm.
And if you're honest, it's easier to build that mutual understanding and balance, I believe, like each other needs.
Right, like if Louis needs more is personal space, we make it work. And if I want more family time, he respect that it's about being like flexible. Another question we get a lot is about stereotypes. Like people assuming that age gap relationship are transactional. That's one of the most hurtful myths because it's ignored to real connection between people.
Yes, and it's not just about money and convenience. In reality, people are looking genuine connection.
Yes.
And Grace and I are together because we respect
Yes,
and love each
100%.
other.
That's the most
You know,
important.
of some practical arrangements, not from practical arrangement.
And honestly, there are so many young Filipinas who aren't interested in age gap relationship at all. It's not like everyone is out there looking for an older partner. People want different things, and it's just unfair to assume everyone has the same
Yeah,
motive.
exactly. You're totally right on this. So, to anyone watching, just remember that age gap relationship can be based on love and respect,
Yes.
like any other relationship. So, all right. So, as we wrap this up, let's give some final tips for anyone who either in age gap relationship or thinking about dating in the Philippines.
Yes, I'd say first be honest with each other about your intention and value. If you're both clear about what you want, the age difference becomes less important.
Really important.
Yes.
Yeah. And my tips would be to embrace each other's culture. For me, learning about Filipino customs, family traditions, and even trying Filipino food has been an amazing experience.
Yes.
It's a way actually of showing that you care.
Yes, and for foreigners, I'd say don't be afraid to ask questions or be curious. The more you show interest in Filipino culture, it's closer you feel to each other.
Yeah, and finally, have fun together. Enjoy the differences and use them as a way to grow together. We are constantly learning from each other, and I think that's what keeps things interesting. Looking back, I never would have imagined that moving to the Philippines actually would lead me to such an amazing relationship. It's been such a journey, and I'm so grateful for it.
And I never expected to fall for a French guy who loves the Philippines as much I do. It's amazing how life brings people together in unexpected way.
Yeah. So we have so many adventure plans And I think the age gap actually make it more fun because we bring different perspective to everything we do.
Yes, and we hope to inspire anyone watching who might feel unsure about dating or about age gap relationship. Love really doesn't know age or borders. It's about finding someone you truly connect
Connect, yeah.
with, you know.
100% you say it all. All right, guys, that is it. So we hope this video gave you some insight into age gap relationship here in the Philippines and clear up some questions that you might have.
Remember, guys, relationships are unique. Find what works for you and don't let anyone let you that your love isn't valid because of age gap. It's not nice.
I couldn't agree more. So if you enjoyed this video and if you want to see a French guy eating balloons, embracing the Filipino culture, we will let that video just right there.
Yes, and let us know in the comment section what you think age matters in a relationship. We'd love to hear your thoughts and keep the conversation going. And that's all, and
Thanks for
bye-bye.
watching.